Over the past week, the media have reported allegations that personal information provided as part of Census 2023 or for the purposes of immunisation processes was misused during last year's election. These allegations are serious and they go to the heart of trust and confidence in our democratic processes and institutions. And New Zealanders trust that their personal information is secure and won't be exploited. So I do want to outline to you today what action is already being taken, and I can also announce that the Minister for Public Service and myself have directed the Public Service Commission to initiate an independent inquiry under the Public Service Act 2020. So the following actions have been taken to date. Firstly, the police have received a complaint in relation to the allegations and they have commenced their own investigation. Secondly, the Privacy Commissioner has requested information and assurances related to the reported allegations, and I do encourage anyone to come forward with any information they have about these allegations to contact the police or the Privacy Commissioner. And then individual agencies are also taking action to establish the facts in relation to these allegations. So Stats New Zealand have initiated an independent investigation and an assurance review into allegations of misuse of census data, and the terms of reference you would have seen were publicly released on Friday. Other ministries, the Ministry of Health, Health New Zealand, Oranga Tamariki and MSD are also taking steps to gather any relevant information and seek their own independent assurances over the treatment of data. However, public confidence in the response to these allegations is absolutely paramount. There must be independent oversight of the whole picture of government agency activity. Agencies shouldn't be left to review these allegations themselves. And to that end, the Minister for Public Service and I have directed the Public Service Commission to initiate an independent inquiry into the safeguards that government agencies had in place to protect people's personal data in the circumstances surrounding these allegations. I've also asked the inquiry to examine agencies' management of actual or perceived conflicts of interest. If the allegations are true, the way data could be so easily shared between organisations through people wearing multiple hats would be of great concern. The inquiry will cover all relevant government agencies, including Crown entities, and this inquiry will run concurrently to the investigations run by the agencies and will not compromise the processes or the investigations that the Police and Privacy Commissioner already have underway. The review will be established under the powers provided by the Public Service Act 2020. There will be further announcements this week on the terms of reference, the timing for the inquiry, as well as the independent reviewer who will lead the process. I just say New Zealanders must have confidence that the data they provide to government agencies or others acting on their behalf is used appropriately and is subject to adequate protections. Last week's actions by public sector agencies in response to these allegations was a good first step, but it's not sufficient. The PSC inquiry announced today will pull the various lines of inquiry together and ensure the necessary independence to provide confidence to the public around the findings. The actions to date by agencies and the new steps announced today are about establishing the facts of what happened. We will consider what further action might need to be taken once that phase is complete. It's really important so that we do have trust in our institutions and the public can quite rightfully have trust in government that they're going to manage their data appropriately, that the police and the Privacy Commissioner who have different powers and coercive powers in some ways can progress their investigations, but equally independent agencies can look at their own engagement on the issue, but we also put that umbrella approach over the top with an independent PSC inquiry. There was a number of other options that we could consider, whether it's Auditor General, whether it was Ombudsman, whether it was Ministerial Inquiry, and I just think this is the appropriate way so that we don't cut across the police and public service and the Privacy Commissioner inquiries that are going on.
Have you talked to Te Pāti Māori about this yet?
No, I haven't.
So they're hearing about this for the first time now?
Yes, they will be.
Do you not think it might have been good to give them a bit of a heads up as a show of good faith that you were planning on doing this?
Well, look, I saw a letter that came through from John Tamahere requesting, I think, a police investigation. There was already a police investigation up and running, and it's inappropriate for me to direct the police. What I want is an independent, arm's-length, objective review to be undertaken, and the Public Service Commissioner and that inquiry will have a sufficient scope and powers to be able to do that well, I think.
Prime Minister, I don't think he answered the question. Why did you not inform Te Pāti Māori previous to this announcement?
Just because we had a conversation about it all today and it's moving very quickly, and I think it's entirely appropriate that I take responsibility as a government for the allegations. I take responsibility for the response to the allegations that we've had at the end of last week. New Zealand has a fantastic reputation as being, as for the public and for globally, for people to be able to trust our social institutions and that government will use data appropriately and legally, etc. And I just want to reassure the New Zealand public, we've had serious allegations made. I want an independent, as I said, arm's length, objective review undertaken. That's best done through the PSC. I want to make sure that that if there are any issues that they're brought out, equally if there isn't, they're not, that's brought out too. And we make sure that people have confidence in the system. That's what it's all about, confidence and trust in public services. And I think the fact that we are putting this review in place underscores how importantly we value the trust that the public have in our institutions, and that's why I'm asking for this intervention to happen and directing this intervention to happen, because I do want New Zealanders to know that they can be that they can be really assured that we have great institutions and that they're being well managed and well delivered. It's important that there is a proper, dispassionate, objective, arm's length investigation. That's all that I'm putting in place here to make sure that, in fairness to all parties involved, if there's no truth to these allegations, that needs to be surfaced too. And if there is, we need to understand that as well and go forward from there. But it's important that actually the New Zealand people can trust these institutions of government. The bottom line is this is not a cost issue, this is a principled issue, which is about making sure that New Zealand people can have great trust and confidence in their institutions. And that's what this is really about. That there's already a police inquiry up and running that has full powers to go, very expansionary investigative powers. Likewise, the Privacy Commissioner also has some coercive powers under legislation as well. Those two pieces are up and running already, and it's important that I don't run across those investigations. And so what I'm wanting to make sure is, yes, while it's nice that every independent government agency is doing its own review, it's important that actually they don't do their own assessment of their own agency's performance. I want an independent view of that so that I can be really reassured that the government's agencies are responding and managing data in the appropriate way, are managing conflicts, real or perceived, in the right way, and importantly, if there's gaps in the arc of knowledge that we need to have about the government's response across a number of agencies, that can happen as well. It's important, given quite serious allegations are made in the middle of last week, that we actually get through the facts and establish what has or hasn't happened, and do that in a very objective, dispassionate kind of way. And I think between the PSC inquiry looking at the government agency responses, coupled with the police and the Privacy Commissioner's work, that will give us a good way to understand what's happened.
Would you not have seen it to be fair and transparent of you to alert the Te Pāti Māori before this announcement, given that they are a member of the House? And if we're talking about fairness and transparency, then why did you not inform them before informing the rest of the country? Yeah,
look, this is really about making sure that government institutions are making sure that they are managing and protecting the use of the public's data appropriately. It's also about making sure that any conflicts of interest are real or perceived are managed well. And it's important that we've actually got an agency that can independently synthesise the different agency reviews and look at the total government response to reassure ourselves around that. So that's the bigger point here from the government's point of view.
With all due respect, what's that got to do with fairness and transparency in handling another party?
Well, I think we're being very transparent, and by putting an independent review in place to look at the government's response to make sure that it's appropriate so we can reassure the New Zealand people that they can have trust and confidence in their institutions. I wanted to make sure there was a comprehensive one-stop shop where I can look at the government's response as a result. And it's great that the Stats, for example, is going off doing its review, as are other agencies. That's very important. But I need someone over the top looking at all of that, synthesising all of that investigation, and also identifying other areas around conflict data and synthesising the agency responses. We need to therefore ask some serious questions about conflicts of interest. And in the fact that there are independent agencies doing their own independent reviews, I want to make sure that I've got some other reassurance, not just the agency reviewing its own work. I want to be able to have a PSC looking at the agencies themselves. It's important that there is a proper investigation of the allegations that are here, which are very serious.